Hi Noteboard Gamers and welcome back to Noteboard Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be carrying out the first of my S.W.I.F.T.S review. And what does S.W.I.F.T stand for? Well, it stands for So Worth It for the Solo? So I'm going to answer the question about games and about whether the solo mode makes it a worthwhile purchase for it. And contrary to all my other videos, I'm going to try and do it in 10 minutes or less. And the very first game that is going to be up for the answering the question, so worth it for the solo, is Founders of Teotihuacan by Board and Dice, designed by Philip Gloach, with a solo mode by David Turksey and Blasej Kubacki. And I hope I got those names right. And the format of the video is fairly simple. Talk about the AI and then talk about my thoughts on the solo and answer that question. So, worth it for the solo? So here we go with our very first S.W.I.F.T.S review. So you're going to set the game up for the solo game as you would set a two-player game up, but the game in the solo game only takes 3 rounds. I think the normal two-player game is 4 rounds. One of the first things you're going to do is you're going to get these tiles, one colour of each tile and one colour of each resource for each of the founders, and you're going to use 2 first founders in the game. You're going to randomly put them down. So here we go. I've got a blue and an orange first founder. We have a green, a red and a blue tile with a stone, a gold and a wood for the blue founder. For the orange founder, a red, a blue and a green tile with a gold, a wood and a stone. And they're going to be important as to what action they're going to take as they move on the board. There's also some objectives that you get to play with in the first game, and you're going to roll a D10 dice to choose the objectives. So say for example, objective number 8, that means on here, the first one, we must complete the pyramid. Second one is number 8 again, and you may not build size 1 buildings, so there are a few size 1 buildings you can do, and you have to subtract 20 victory points from your final score. And the final one is a number 2, and have 15 plus victory points on resolved blue worship tiles. That's these ones here. Subtract 10 additional victory points from your final score. You see, at the end of the game, you're going to tot up all your victory points. If you haven't completed all of your objectives, then you've lost the game, and completing that first objective of completing the pyramid is very difficult. But then once you've totted up all your victory points, you then minus 80 points off the back end of that, and that will give you your final score. And if you're in the plus, then that's good. There are some score conditions you can get. You're going to take your turns normally, and what you do in Founders of Teotihuacan is, this is your meeple here, and where he's on the board is where he can build in these 2 areas here. Every turn, that meeple is going to move around, so therefore he can build there, round 3 there, turn 4 there, and that keeps moving around the board, and you will take stuff from there. Then for the founders, for the AI, for the founders, really simple. You're going to pull 2 discs, and you're going to use all 6 discs of each colour in their bag. And when you pull the discs out, here we go, oh, we've got 1 for each there, you're going to place them on the board here. You see here where you can see these kind of bonus markers. If you were to place your disc on there, you could take the bonus that's on there. But the founders, say I've already gone, I haven't, but I've already gone. Then what they're going to do is they're going to place their disc. So first we'll start with a blue one, and you get to choose which one of these it is. So let's just say it's that one, which is an additional build action. He has a strength of 1. Then what we do is we look over here where the blue is, and you have 2 things. You have a resource priority and a colour priority. So if it's a build action, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this, at the resource priority on there, and it's a stone one, it's a grey one that's on there. Because he's only placed 1 disc on there, what means is he's going to take the smallest building off there. That means it's not available for me. So we're going to get rid of that 2-pointer stone one there. That's his go on, and then we move him on 1. So he's going to move to there. There we go. Sorry, there. Yeah, there. To next available space. Then we're going to take the orange one. So they're on here, and these are on these temple actions. Now, we've got 1 orange disc that we've already used for him there. So that will go, let's see, we get to put that somewhere on there. So that's covering up another bonus action for him there. But if we look down on here, what we got here is a colour priority. So we take, sorry, I should have moved that on 1. There we go. So once you've done them, you move them on 1. Here we have the orange is on a red tile. So he's going to take a red temple from there, and that's pretty tricky basically, because that means I have less temples, and you need temples for scoring. So that's going to get removed from the board. Then it goes back round to my turn. I would take my turn. Then we draw 2 more discs from the bag. So move that on there and move that on there. And you can see as you move them across, they change what resource and what colour they go for. So here I've drawn 2 orange discs out of the bag. That means that he doesn't get 2 goes, he gets 1 go. So again, what we do here is we put both of those on any available thing. So that's already up to 2 strength there. It's covered up a bonus action. And what he's going to do is we look down on here, and that's blue. So he's going to take a blue tile away from there, and I need those tiles to build up my pyramid on the board, because as I build up my pyramid on the board I get more and more points, obviously. And that's kind of how the game will flow. They will remove stuff from the board, make it more difficult for you. When either all your discs are done or all their discs are done, what happens is you're going to refill the tiles on the board as per possible, as per the startup. So you'll get new kind of temple tiles that you'll put out on there. You'll restock these tiles here. You'll put these back up to the maximum, which is 1 each on these, etc. And then you will go again, but only over 3 rounds. It makes it very difficult because bear in mind you've got these objectives to do as well. But what will happen at the end of each round is I will lose one of my discs, so I get less actions that next round. Now, on round 2, what's going to happen with the solo AI is you're going to pull out 1 disc from the bag and you're going to complete a founder's action. So there we go. We have a blue one there, so he can take, say, that action there. And he's on red, so he's going to remove a red tile from the bag. So there we go. And then you would start again with my turn and their turns, etc. On round 3, the final round, you remove 2 discs from the back and carry out 2 founders actions. And that's how the game progresses with the solo mode. So whilst you're busy trying to build your wooden structures on here, which every time you build a structure, you put the relevant resources in any empty space around it, and then you get to collect them if you build on that space, etc. That's how you collect the resources. They're busy going across the board trying to wipe out while you can. It lasts only 3 rounds. You can play a solo game in around about 45 minutes, something like that. And let me tell you, once you start factoring in these objectives, it becomes very, very hard to win. But as you can see, the AI is really, really simple to manage. All you're literally doing is pulling discs out of the bag, and you are seeing where their disc is on these colour and resource priority tracks. Then you're going to take the appropriate action and move it on one. When you get to the end, you move it back to the beginning. So it you're randomising these at the beginning, and it randomises what they do throughout the game. That is how simple the solo AI is to run. So that's a really brief overview of the solo game of Founders of Teotihuacan by Board and Dice. What are my thoughts on the solo game? Well, it's probably unlike any other polyomino type puzzle that I've seen before. As I mentioned briefly in the overview, you're making meaningful decisions here. It's not just a case of filling up your board. Chances your board is never going to get full, but you have to manage where you're going to put things in terms of trying to maximize the resources you can get to buy more stuff, to maybe make some take some influence actions or some build actions or some temple actions, and all the while you're kind of mindful of where you're putting it to maximize your scoring at the end. What I like about the solo AI, the first founders, they're really, really, really easy to work. Once you know how they work, it takes no time at all to manipulate them. Yes, there's 2 on the board, but you're not managing multiple AIs. This kind of resource and color priority system works really, really, really well. These objectives are a bit of a bind. I would suggest for your first couple of games, maybe don't play with the objectives, then start introducing them into your game, because when you take that 80 points off your end scoring at the end of it, it becomes quite difficult to stay positive on that. So the game is nice and smooth to operate. It's about 40-45 minutes for a solo game. Really quick, you can play 2 or 3 games on the bounce and have a nice, meaningful puzzle. So do I recommend it just for the solo? So, worth it for the solo. And I think you've got to be mindful of the type of game that you're getting. Look, it's very, very abstract, this. There's, the theme is literally practically non-existent in it at all here. So what you're doing is you're playing a dynamic puzzle game. And I think after maybe 3 or 4 games of it, you're going to be a little bit tired of it and you're going to be wanting to put it away. That's nothing down to the solo mode, but it's the fact that, there's no real player interaction here. Yes, the solo guys, they're going around, they're stealing pieces off the board and making it more difficult for you. And, at the end of their turn, they're going to remove some of these masks that you use for scoring as well. So they make it more difficult for you, and they make a nice dynamic puzzle. But but as I say, after maybe 3 or 4 games, you've probably had enough for a while. The good thing about it, as I say, is its game length, which is good, and the price. You know, it's really, really nicely priced, and it's very easy to learn, but it's quite a thinky game. It's possibly the thinkiest polyomino game that I've got. So, worth it just for the solo? Possibly, maybe, but as long as you like abstract puzzle games. Now, with these videos, if I find a game that really excels at the solo, I'm going to be giving out a S.W.I.F.T. to them. It doesn't quite make the S.W.I.F.T., and that's nothing down to the solo. That is down to the game itself and the fact that, yeah, it's a nice dynamic puzzle, but you get a feel a bit like doing a Sudoku puzzle or something like that. You're not really invested in what's happening here. Really nice, easy to handle solo AI, really nicely structured, game plays quickly, lots of meaningful decisions. It's a good game, just doesn't quite hit the great game status. So, worth it for the solo? Kind of, but it's not going to get a S.W.I.F.T. Thank you very much for joining me on this brand new kind of series of videos I'll be doing. I don't know what types of games I'll be doing. I'll obviously still be doing my full reviews on certain games as well, but other games like this maybe where it deserves a more condensed experience. I think it's going to be around about 12 minutes, this video, something like that, so slightly over the 10-minute mark. Thank you very much for joining me on this. Hope this has given you a good overview on Founders of Teotihuacan by Board and Dice, designed by Philip Glowacz, with a solo mode by David Turksey and Blazej Kubacki. My name's Mark, this is Not Board Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, check out our other videos, and one final thought, if you can't find anyone else to play with, there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time, bye bye.